I've talked a lot in my videos about my experiences with mania and the consequences of a major manic episode that I suffered from during my junior year of college. But I haven't talked a great deal about my depression. In this video, I'm going to do exactly that. What I'll be doing is taking you through 6 challenges that I faced during my depressive episode, which is still ongoing. It's certainly not over. Lately, it's been fluctuating between moderate and severe. I would say right now I'm in a moderate position, and that's the only time when I'm really able to upload to YouTube is when I'm in that moderate position, because when it's severe, I suffer from extreme anhedonia, and that is the first challenge that I've experienced. Anhedonia is when you lose passion in the things that used to interest you. Before my manic episode, I was very interested in reading, running, and interacting with friends and family. But during my depressive episode, particularly in the beginning, I completely socially isolated myself, so I didn't have any more of that social interaction. And sense of belonging is so incredibly vital to being a happy person. At least that's what I believe. Many psychologists would say the same thing. I'm not one, but I concur with what many psychologists say. I stopped exercising completely. I would mostly spend my time in bed, and it's hard for me to pinpoint why exactly I lost interest in the things I did. I think a big aspect of that was simply the fact that I was in a depressed mood. And when you're in a depressed mood, it's really hard to find passion or interest in anything. It really does confine you to your bed. It does make you want to socially isolate. And it's hard to read a book and focus when you can't even do the basic things that you need to do on a daily basis. So anhedonia is a major challenge of bipolar depression. It's one that I would say many experience. If you can relate to anhedonia and are willing to, please feel free to share your experiences down in the comments below. I know I'm definitely not alone in that particular area. Another big challenge of depressive episodes, and this one doesn't relate to me as much, but I know it may pertain to others, and that is that family and friends might not necessarily be understanding of what you went through. I'm grateful for the fact that this largely hasn't been the case for me. My cousins have been very understanding of the fact that I have an illness, about the fact that I have a severe brain disorder, and they haven't passed judgment on me. You know, sometimes things will be said that bother me, but it's nothing that I let get into my head too much, because I know that they have good intentions, and I know that they have my best interests at their heart. You know, when I was in mania, there were many things that my family did to help me. They would visit me when I was in the hospital, while hospitalized. They tried delivering clothes to me, gave me money, loaned me money, although they probably didn't know that it was mostly going towards alcohol. It was predominantly going towards alcohol and other things that I frivolously spent money on. But they went out of their way to help me when they weren't sure what was going on. And that support has continued during my depressive episode, in the sense that they're not casting judgment. They're being understanding. When I need someone to talk to, they're there to talk to. As for friends, I haven't interacted with many of my former friends. You know, I was in a social fraternity in college, and I've actually only spoken to one brother since then. And he actually gave an incredibly understanding response to me, and I was very ecstatic about that, because he was a close friend of mine while I was in the fraternity. And to know that he didn't hold any of my manic interactions against me meant a great deal. It's always good when a close friend understands. I also reached out to a former pastor of mine, and he was incredibly understanding. And I reached out to a former teacher of mine who I had interacted with during my mania, and she was understanding. But I had this big fear, and this was a challenge for me at the beginning, is that people would not be understanding. And I'm just eternally grateful that this was not the case for me. But I know others are not so fortunate, and this can be a major challenge when you are not supported. One other major challenge I had was that I had feelings of guilt and worthlessness about things that I did during mania. I felt guilty about the things I said to my family. I felt guilty about the things I said about my friends, and I still do to this day. And that guilt was so encumbersome that it actually overwhelmed me and made me feel worthless. How can any decent person say the things I said and do the things I did? I called my friends Nazis. I said a whole host of horrible things to my family that I don't even want to get into. And I've kind of just had to, grasp with that reality that these things happen. They're not ideal, but I have to accept them. And at the end of the day, I do recognize now that it wasn't my fault that these things happened. It was the product of a incredibly rare condition that only affects 1% of the world population, bipolar disorder. Another major challenge I've been faced with is, and that many others can probably relate to, is antidepressants and their effects. Now, according to my psychiatrist, some antidepressants can actually flare up mania or increase the risk of mania. And this is particularly difficult because when people come out of mania, they're coping with the wide array of embarrassing and shameful things that they may have done. And it's a difficult thing to come to terms with and to accept reality for what it is. To realize that you said and did these things and that they are irreversible, and that you may have embarrassed yourself on social media or even in person. In my case, I did both. And so it really does help if you could have an antidepressant, but in some cases, psychologists or psychiatrists are hesitant to do so because it can possibly trigger mania again. In my case, I eventually was able to go on antidepressants. I'm on Wellbutrin as well as Lexapro. And what my psychiatrist said to me is that Wellbutrin has less of a chance of triggering mania, that it helps a lot with depression, whereas Lexapro, it has a slight chance of causing mania again, but it helps with both depression and anxiety. So I'm on 2 antidepressants, and I really do appreciate that my psychiatrist was willing to take that risk with me, because I was not audacious at all when I was in my severe depression stage. I wasn't willing to take any risks, and I was really just not showing any respect for myself. A big challenge with depressive episodes is getting a consistent night's sleep. Sleep disturbance is an incredibly common thing. It happens with others, and it happened with me. Throughout large portions of my depressive episode, I have not gotten consistent sleep. That only has very recently changed. Coincidentally, it started to change when I started exercising again, which was around December 2023. And so I'm making track and going in the right direction. But it's important that we don't sleep on the importance of sleep. I know for a second you probably thought I was saying it's important we don't sleep. That would be a horrible thing to say, right? I wouldn't say that. Blueberry iced coffee is so delicious. I love it. So sleep disturbance is a major one. It's hard to operate and function and be high functioning, get a job, go to school when you don't have consistent night's sleep. And the last challenge I'll be sharing with you, this is the 6th one I've shared in this video, that is severe appetite changes. This can go in multiple different directions. It can go in the direction of not eating much at all, which is the case for some others. It can also go in the direction of overeating, which is the direction that I took. Overeating became my main coping mechanism during my depressive episode. And lately, I've gotten a lot better in the kitchen. I haven't been eating more than I need to, and I've been losing weight as a result of both that and a consistent exercise routine. But I think my appetite changes were partially induced by the medication I was on. I can't definitively prove that, but I feel like it's corroborated by my experience, because as soon as I started medications, I began quickly putting on pounds. Initially, not so fast, but as time went on, it gradually got faster and faster and faster. And, I can't even remember all the medications that I was on, but I know that they're partially accountable for the appetite changes that I experienced. At least I feel that way. And I know that they contributed to my weight gain. Not to say that I don't appreciate my medication, of course I do. But it's just that there's cons and pros to everything. And I feel like the pros of my medication outweigh the cons. and I'm happy that I've been able to make active changes in my life now to move in the right direction with regards to appetite changes and exercise for the purpose of weight loss. So those are 6 major challenges of depressive episodes. If you can relate to any of these challenges, please feel free to share down below in the comments. My name is Tyler Adolfo. For those who are new here, I have a diagnosis of bipolar type 1 with psychotic features. I'm 26 years old, and I have a plethora of other videos on my channel where I talk about bipolar disorder as it relates to my experience. And my goal with this channel is to try and be interesting and informative on a topic that is incredibly taboo and about an illness that is so highly stigmatized, in the hopes that others will feel more welcome to be vulnerable and share their stories to help others. My goal is to help others. But that's it for today's video. If you're new here and liked what you saw, please hit that subscribe button. I've been uploading very consistently, and I look forward to continue doing so. Thank you all. Take care and have a wonderful day.